2,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave, became Iron Man. Realized I loved you. I know I said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one.
The world has changed. None of us can go back. All we can do is our best. And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
I saw all these people die. I keep telling everybody they should move on. Some do, but not us.
Even if there's a small chance, we owe this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
We will. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
I like this one.
Welcome, yes, to Agree or Disagree, the podcast. Yes, we do like this one. My name is Kevin Olenek. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at KEVOLE. You can subscribe to all podcasts on iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, finding Agree or Disagree, the podcast. You can also add me as a friend on Facebook if you want, Kevin Olenek. You can like, agree, or disagree the podcast on Facebook as well. Give me a follow also on Instagram at KEVOLE. And yes, it is here. It is happening. After 22 movies, years and years of speculation, internet theories, YouTube videos, blogs, debates amongst friends, and much more, we are now...
We're in the Endgame now.
Yes, we are in the Endgame. It is here. The Avengers Endgame movie is upon us. It opens Thursday. It sold out quite quickly, which included people paying thousands of dollars to get a ticket. There are actually people in Toronto and in New York going through the entire 22-movie Marvel experience. They're going to watch all 22 Marvel movies in a row, starting today, in anticipation to the Endgame. What's going to happen? After the snap that turned heads in 2018, we are back with the survivors of the snap, which include, amongst others, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Iron Man, Bruce Banner, and more. What happens? Who is going to live? Who is going to die? Who is going to take down Thanos? And what else is going to happen going forward? To talk about this, we have three guests with us. Of course, the guy that has we've been trying to do the preview of going through the reviews of going through all of the Marvel series. We've had some bumps and bruises. We will continue to do this, but it's just going to take longer than anticipated. Mitch Milani from the Bottom Line View. How is Toronto? I'm surprised you're not at that actual... Are you at the actual viewing that I've talked about? Did you hear about that?
No, I wish I was. I didn't even know that was taking place.
Yeah, I heard about it today. It's 22... Yeah, you sit through...
Wait, are there bathroom breaks? And, do they sleep in the theater? How does this work?
Apparently not. Apparently you have to go through the entire 22 movies in a row.
What?
Yeah.
I'm sure they let you pee between movies.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's little breaks in between there. That is, you may have remembered we've done several podcasts when we were reviewing Riverdale back in the day. She is an actor amongst town in Vancouver. Jen Kasun, how's it going?
Going pretty well.
It's been a long time since you and I have actually chatted.
Well, I've moved more into the theater world, and I am working for the Fringe Festival now, and I've been very busy, and I miss you.
Oh, that's touching. Yeah, not everybody misses me.
I don't miss you.
I know. I was expecting nothing different from you over there. But we also have another guest with us, making her debut. She has 20 years' experience in the BC film industry. She has been a contributing force in many indie films and brings a unique energy to set. She won the 2015 Prairie Dog Screenwriting Award. A graduate of the Vancouver Film School, she has been creating content for multiple platforms since 2012, when she launched her first web series. She has written, produced, and directed one short film, 2 proofs of concept, and a series of sketch comedy shorts for an online channel called VETV. Some of her other writing accomplishments: she was a finalist at Scriptapalooza. She was a first semi-finalist in the Scriptapalooza pilot contest for her spec script, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, titled #YourIt. Selena Lohan joins us. How's it going? Welcome to the podcast world.
Oh my God, that introduction. What you were talking about, I was like, who is this? This person sounds great. Oh, but it's
And that's
me.
you.
Oh my God, I sound pretty great on paper. I wish I was rich. Thank you for that. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, I guess let's just open this up with kind of what is your excitement level about this movie going in after seeing all 22. We just finished and we're still talking a lot about Captain Marvel. Kind of what is your anticipation going in?
Wow. Well, when you say seeing all 22, I don't know that I have seen all 22. I didn't know it was 22. That's pretty amazing. But yes, I am fully there for the Marvel worlds and very excited about this. My biggest interest is probably Thor's character arc. That would be mine, where like he's kind of had to leave that arrogance and always winning behind him. Is, Thanos the one who's going to best him? What's going to happen, and who is going to save the day? Is it Captain Marvel? Yeah, that's what I want to see. Where is he going? I feel like that's the biggest through line is Thor's character arc.
Okay. Jen, Mitch, your thoughts?
Well, with me, being me, my biggest identifier is Captain Marvel, seeing as she left the Air Force on Earth the same year that my mother did, and so many of her stories are reminiscent. So it just hit every single note with me, and I'm very, very excited to see her meet Black Widow, in fact.
That's interesting. Mitch?
And for me, I'm at a 12 out of 10, Keval. You already know this. I've seen every film. And to me, this movie is kind of like my teenage years wrapped into one film, so I'm very excited for it. In terms of a character or a story that I'm looking forward to, probably just Iron Man in general. It all started with Iron Man. How does he end in the Endgame? Does he die? Does he survive? Does he take the lead? And is he the one to end Thanos? What happens to Captain America as well? I think those two are the two characters that I'm looking closely at.
Yeah, the theory is you start where you end where you start. So I mean, I guess the big question becomes around Iron Man. I do think that there's the fascinating thing about this, I think, is that you could actually go so many different ways, and it really, maybe Selena can comment more from a writing perspective, and well, all of you can comment, but I don't know if there's not many ways that you could go wrong. Because you have so many, you have the Thor. You're right. You have the Thor storyline of from the Infinity War perspective that he lost everything. He lost his planet. You have the Iron Man storyline that he's had Thanos in his head all these years. You have the Captain America storyline about how everything kind of begins, and you also do have the Captain Marvel storyline where she can come in and be the one that can save the day. So I don't know, is there a wrong way to go about this?
Personally, Kev, I think that there are 3 right ways of doing it, which are Iron Man, Cap, and Thor. I think Captain Marvel is too premature. She doesn't have the same entire longevity of all these other characters with the full story of Thanos to really make it make sense for the audience for that to happen. So I think it's really only 3. You could possibly throw in Nebula in there, but she's not popular enough of a character. I know that she has a big impact in the comics on Thanos, and obviously she's like a part of his family, so it would make sense in that way, but from a film perspective, it doesn't really make sense. So I think there's 3, personally.
What I always find most interesting about Iron Man, who is in fact my favorite Avenger, is he has the most transferable power. He doesn't necessarily need to survive or actually go into the field of play. I really much expect him to, but he could take on almost a Quinn role in a bunch of things, like a Q to your James Bond type of thing. And I've always found that very interesting about Iron Man. His powers aren't necessarily powers so much as technology.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. And from a story line perspective, or possibilities of stories, as you said, it is infinite, but being true to, like you say, the characters and the endurance of the characters and what is going to be so satisfying. That's the big debate. And I like your perspective of those 3. That's probably spot on. But yeah, they might just mix it up and throw it up there, or bring a newer generation of the lesser heroes or something. Who knows? Do you know?
Well, let's break down what some possible. There are a number. Let's debate the theory. We can debate some of the theories here.
And the thing is, Kevel, like, it's not just going to be one of them gets their endgame. It's endgame for all of them. So they're all going to have their own ending in a way. It might not be defeating Thanos, like, individually, but it might be maybe the theory of Cap with Penny in his last dance, or maybe it's Iron Man finally getting that one-on-one with Thanos, or possibly getting married. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go outside of just the one-on-one with Thanos.
Sure, yeah. So go ahead.
What I'm thinking is it's going to be Endgame for a lot of those characters you're talking about with the huge, long storylines. A lot of the actors who say they're not returning for much longer and all that. But it's going to be, endings are beginnings, right? So I think it's going to be a beginning for those new secondary set of characters.
Yeah, I think so too. Yes.
Yeah, so Robert Downey, Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth have already said that they're not coming back. Their contracts are up. I have not heard of Mark Ruffalo, what Mark Ruffalo plans to do. I haven't heard one way or the other about that. But he does have an interesting and underrated storyline in terms of his from Infinity War, the Bruce Banner fighting to actually, after all these years of trying to get rid of the green guy, he actually needs the green guy to come back, which I think was a fascinating thing. You do have the next generation, which is, most of them were in the dust-up, were dusted. You have your Spider-Man, which it is interesting they were already promoting Spider-Man even through this. You also have Ant-Man and the Wasp. You have the Guardians of the Galaxy storyline, and there's still some things missing there. So there is a number of different beginnings that can happen there that is quite interesting. What are we, I guess from the beginning, from here, so what is your theory of how they bring back everybody?
I think it has to be the quantum realm, like to go back in time and then figure it out from there. To bring everybody back, I think it has to be something with the stones. And I actually think it might be like Iron Man's plan to bring them back, because he's the only character that really logically would make sense from a storyline point of view, that he has the intelligence to be able to figure that out. And that's why I think, looking back on Infinity War, that's why that decision by Doctor Strange was such a big part of the film, to have Iron Man continue on to live, because I think Iron Man's game plan, so to speak, is the reason why they're able to get those people back and win.
I also would like to say, okay, the people who did snap, the people who did disappear, I think there's going to be some form of push from them from wherever they ended up.
Yeah, like, where did they end up?
That's the question. Nobody knows.
And I definitely think Doctor Strange is going to be helping somehow.
Does Thanos know
where they are?
Yeah.
My guess would be the Soul Stone, but I have no idea.
Well, see, there's so, and that's because everybody's theory about the preview that we just played is many of the people are thinking that this is the first hour of the movie, basically. So even the stuff that we've seen when at the end of the final scene in Captain Marvel, where we see her with the Avengers, that's apparently a lot of people are thinking is in the first hour. So there's so many other things that we're going to have to unpack about that. I do agree. I do think it's the quantum realm is going to have a play in that. And then if you remember the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man is caught in the realm, and we don't know if they are...
That could be the start of the movie, Kev.
That could be. That could very much be, yeah, that he's kind of back in time. That makes sense to me. I kind of also... Yeah, I wonder if we are... Or the other way that we do this is we do see where they are. Actually, where are all of these people?
That's tough, because then if you do show where they are, you kind of have to put a focus as well on, in the movie at some point, on those characters. And I really don't feel like they're going to do that, because I think it would take away from the end game of these original Avengers, for the most part, original Avengers. But I think it would be a mistake if they did that, personally. I'd rather just see them at the end.
Like everybody comes out and
yeah,
there's a happy reunion?
I want the entire focus to be on these characters that are shown in the film, and then at the end, like, we'll get the payoff at the end. But, like, I think that's the whole point of why they made it such a limited cast, to be able to focus on all these characters.
With that in mind, when I say, like, they're going to make a push from the other side, I don't necessarily mean they need to be seen to see that. Like, Iron Man could be working on something and some sort of message could come through, or he could notice an anomalous piece of data, and it turns out that that's coming from some effort they're making.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. And then you have them fighting that fight, and then you also have the thrill of, are they going to be saved? Are they gone forever? Are they? Yeah, that just adds to it, right?
Yeah, that part is it's fascinating, because I mean, there were spoilers out there that everybody is supposed to be. We are getting everybody. I mean, there's the cast that has been lined on the line, but there's also, we are expecting to see everybody. That's been some of the theory out there. So I guess maybe, and here's some other things I'm kind of just popping in my head a little bit here too, is where is Thanos in your mind?
I think he's on another planet, like one of his new planets. Like
that one that he wiped out?
Like he could make his own planet, basically, so I don't know.
And the thing about Thanos for me too is he's so omnipresent. He's so godlike. He's such the perfect antagonist or villain or whatever ever created in a weird way, because he is like ego, which isn't a persona. Ego is within the persona, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's fascinating the way that you bring that up, because throughout the and maybe Infinity War didn't. Some people's criticism of Infinity War was they didn't get into this enough, but his whole persona, like his whole coldness around life and his arbitrariness around life, makes it. There's some really fascinating concepts that some would be like, is he really that much of a villain? Some may say, but I mean, obviously he is. But it's such a fascinating mindset that I think, yeah, he's such a he actually feels like he's the villain that feels like he's playing the hero.
Those are the best villains, though.
Yeah,
like those villains who are kind of on the borderline of what they're doing. You could consider to be, okay, I could see where he's coming from. That perspective of the way that they write the character. Like, those are usually the best villains, and I think that's what they've done a good job of with Thanos. I do want to bring up, in the trailer, they do have Nebula with Iron Man on the ship, and, like, Iron Man's making his way back to Earth. Obviously, we know he'll make his way back to Earth at some point. But I think that's going to be, like, a key conversation there, just in terms of – because Nebula is the one that knows Thanos the most. So maybe a character that we're not really paying attention to, and Nebula could actually play a big factor in, like, what – the characters decide to do in terms of like their plan or whatever, because that Iron Man being with Nebula could change the entire landscape of the movie.
Yeah.
On the whole villain thing, I just want to mention that from an actor's perspective, villains are my favorite to play. And not only have they written that well, it's been acted well in the whole terms of no one really thinks they're evil. Even the most evil people aren't going out there to be evil. When you look at the Scottish play, you're always supposed to look at why you're doing that. How would you yourself justify that with your own background? And I think it's very, very interesting how they've written this entire arc.
Let's dig in, talk more about that from that perspective.
Oh, well, like, I once played essentially a SS officer at a clone concentration camp. I believe you saw that play, Kevin. And what you really have to do, I think, from both the actor's perspective and the writer's perspective, is look at what you're doing that you think is so right, and just make that your entire motivation the entire time. You can't look at how everyone else is viewing your actions. You just have to look at how you yourself, the character, is viewing your actions. And Thanos really, really thinks he's a good person.
Yes, and I love, Jennifer, I love that you can't say Macbeth, right? That's unlucky. No, I love that too from the acting point of view, and this is a debate that I get in with my son, who's a teenager, who is a absolute Marvel aficionado, but in a superhero in general aficionado. But we get into that big debate too, because where he's heard things where people are like, oh, people are saying Thanos is like based on like a Nazi or a fascist or this kind of thing. Whereas I'm like, no, for me, it's like, it's not one thing that is an evil entity. It's just like you said, he's the hero in his own world, which is a writing technique, right? Make the villain a hero in his own world and in his own mind. And that's why I think of him as, pure ego, right? He's right. He's correct. He's going to make things better in his mind.
Well, as you say, like, there is the comparison to Nazis there, but I wouldn't actually shy away from that. A lot of Nazis think they were good people, or at least thought they were good people at the time. They weren't, but they thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's part of the brilliance of this series, because I'll lead to the question here, because there's so many points of view that have been written towards. I mean, we had the Iron Man point of view, we have the Captain America point of view, we have the Thor point of view. they added. I think there is a Captain Marvel point of view. I think we haven't got into the Guardians of the Galaxy point of view here. I also, not only, by the way, do I think Nebula is going to play a factor in this. What's her name? Zoe Saldana's character.
She's awesome.
Yeah, I still think she's going to have a factor in this. There's that point of view.
We haven't talked about anything from the Black Panther.
Yeah, and we haven't even. Yeah, that's right, and that's right. So, like, really, where is? I guess in a nutshell, where do you see, like, from a writing performer perspective, what point of view do you think we're seeing?
Oh, what point of view do you think that
they're writing from? Yeah,
I mean, well, it's written with multiple POVs. Clearly, right? That's why it was kind of a heavy. Infinity Wars was so, like, a little heavy, a little much, so many storylines merging, because it is multiple POV. But is it ultimately Thanos's? I don't know. I don't really get that. What do you guys think?
I think.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Okay. I think it's multiple point of views, as you brought up, but we've kind of been talking about it. It's like multiple perspectives leading into this one sole goal of defeating Thanos. Like, the Captain America point of view right now, I think, is, I don't remember who says it. Is it Ultron who says it? He's like, you've never existed without a war. And I think Captain America at the beginning of the movie is like, he's at this, with these veterans, I guess, and he's talking about wars and stuff. So he has, like, this perspective of this is his final war, the biggest war of all wars. I actually saw this YouTube video, and it made a lot of sense. It was like, Captain America, this is, like, the only war that could ever top World War II for him. So, like, this is, like, the end of all ends that could possibly be for Captain America. So there's that perspective. There's the perspective of Thor, like, everyone in his family dying. So, of course, like, every individual character has their own different look at this situation and how they want to go about it, which is what we've kind of been discussing about, like, how fascinating it is. And then, of course, Tony Stark, and then all these secondary characters. I think Rocket Raccoon is interesting. I don't really know how they're going to play him into the story. Maybe he tries to be like the voice of what Peter tried to do. Like, I'm kind of confused on what they're going to do with him. I don't know if he's going to sacrifice himself or something. I don't know.
There's one thing that's been playing around in my head that the way you were talking about Captain America really put into place right here. The whole Captain thing. Captain America, in views of, and not in a bad way, he's such a beautiful, honest character, is so old school. He's so old school. He's from the 40s.
Yeah.
That I think part of the whole Endgame thing is going, and throughout the entire history of this Marvel universe, they've been trying to build up the establishment until Civil War. They're trying to bring people into S.H.I.E.L.D. They're trying to build this thing. And then you see the levels of corruption, and Captain Marvel brought in the whole boys club aspect of it all. And I think, and the whole history of the Black Panther storyline, where they're segregated and then get brought in just to help with this one scenario. I think there's going to be and like Thor leaving. I think there's going to be this stabilization of their central group, and it's going to be remade.
Like they're going to remake the Avengers?
Yes, but I think it's going to, I think part of what's going to get all tied into it is the inherent corruption in an organization like that, because they've touched on that for so long, for so many of these 22 movies. That I think part of what they're going to try to do is it's a whole shakeup of how they organize an organization like that.
That's cool. Yeah. Because if you think of it as one big long play, for example, right? Who are the characters in this world? And some of them, like Iron Man, is like the father who, you know, especially the way he talks to Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff. Like, he just assigns roles, and maybe he's, you know, passing that torch on, and then there's like the children of the scenario. Like, maybe it's like one family or tribe, and everybody has those archetypal roles, right? So I think a new generation, a new imagining, and all that kind of stuff is going to happen sometime, right?
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to go towards that. I think that will probably play into the reasons why if somebody dies or sacrifices themselves and somebody else takes their place as a part of the core part of the Avengers. I think one of the big parts of the trailers that they're kind of hinting towards is one of the aspects that I feel like they could play up in this film. The reason why they lost in Infinity War was because Captain America and Iron Man were separate and they weren't together. So in the trailers, they're kind of like shaking hands and like getting over the whole beef from Civil War, which they were never able to do during Infinity War. So I think that might be a big storyline where it's like, okay, Iron Man was trying to be like Captain America and do everything Captain America would do by like instructing everybody where to go. And Captain America was trying to be Iron Man, like by setting everybody up with the technology and all that sort of stuff. So maybe like now that they're on the same page, it's sort of them getting back together and for the last time.
Well, there's so much to lead with that too, but I do want to kind of, to get into that, I do think that the Black Panther story is, I actually think the Black Panther, I agree with Jen, the Black Panther storyline is actually probably, other than Ant-Man, the most underrated storyline going in. And I think really, I thought one of the things, I know that there's one guy, Mitch, that didn't like Captain Marvel as much as some of the others here, but I think that what Captain Marvel did really well was bring in the aspects of, I thought brought in all of the aspects of what we have been seeing throughout this entire journey. And I thought it was an interesting place to put Captain Marvel, even though it was so far in the past, to bring us to where we were, because we have the California connection with the Black Panther. The shield that is covering Ronin is similar to the shield that's covering. Why am I forgetting? Wakanda. Yes. You have the. What's that?
Wakanda forever.
Forever. Yes, Wakanda forever.
My question is like, how does Black Panther play into this though? Like I don't really see.
Well, I don't see a huge role in the actual defeating of Thanos. I see a huge role for the Black Panther and Wakanda in the rebuilding of the new. Because they were almost nationalistic in their approach to their country. They took care of themselves first.
I think Black Panther has to become sort of the Iron Man of the next event.
Yeah, because of their technology, they have the most advanced.
Yeah, but I think that storyline of where they're building, I know that there's by the way, I do know for a fact that they're doing another Killmonger movie. Apparently they're doing they are doing a specific Killmonger movie. So,
really?
Yeah, I think, well, he's coming back for Black Panther 2, for sure.
Well, just because he's too popular.
Yeah, but that story, but there's such an interesting connection with that, with what happened there, and even some of the similar stuff, even now that I'm thinking about it, that Black Panther went through to become Black Panther, and his origin story to what Thanos went through. There's some similarities there that I do think that's fascinating. And I do think that Marvel, and I don't know if Marvel intended to go this way or politics led them this way, but I do wonder if the intention was to kind of bring up the point of the underrepresented. And because you get into sort of, it was always the straight white male that was the hero, and throughout
I 100% agree that's the direction they're going.
Yeah, and then
and they'd be crazy not to.
Yeah, and then all of it, and then the way that it's built now is then you bring in Black Panther, and he's a hero in a technically different way, and you bring in Captain Marvel, and she can do everything Captain America can do, but maybe even better. You even have some other storylines in the Captain Marvel universe that you can play with. as well. Also, it was interesting that they brought the Tesseract origin story in, kind of thing. I think that there is. I'm going all over the place, but I do think that there's something almost like they kind of want to make the political statement a little bit about who's in charge going forward with the Avengers. That it's not just the straight white male.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to play into that, I think a big thing that would go towards your point is how minor Spider-Man is. Spider-Man is the biggest character Marvel has ever had or ever probably will have. And Spider-Man is like a minor character. Like, they don't even
I think Spider-Man's gonna become a bigger character, though. I think they intentionally casted him young so that he can grow into being the Spider-Man we know and love.
That's true. Yeah, it's I can see that, right? Because I was questioning why they cast a 16-year-old, but long-term wise, I can see what happens there.
Well, and there's been a growing trend in all of the Spider-Man movies, including not the ones in this universe, of casting him younger and younger, so you can, because part of the whole white male problem of the Marvel universe is they're all already big, and the people who aren't identifying with them are having a harder time identifying with them when they can't see them grow, can't see how they are awesome people, that they can just stroll into it from a place of privilege and they're like, I get to be awesome because I'm awesome. Like, Spider-Man is growing into it, and everyone will just accept him as an awesome Spider-Man when we see it all the way through.
Yeah, because I think there's a journey that we're seeing with Spider-Man. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, from a writing point of view, because, yes, we know and love and can see what they're doing, and sometimes in a big movie, a blockbuster point of view, it's a little easier. It's almost a little bit of, lazy writing to show, coming of age and this kind of a development in a character, to see them from young and, flawed by making mistakes and flawed by lack of experience, and then they gain it. Whereas, that's just pandering a little bit. Whereas I love that. I find it amazing as a middle-aged person that so many of these superheroes are old, like in their 50s. Like, yes. This is awesome. But you have to work a little harder to show people where they can develop, where they can grow, right? So, but absolutely with the kid. And again, like, if you look at them as just one family or one tribe, then you have the kid who is the future. And that's so easy to see. Like, oh my God, yes, he's the future.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's interesting. Yeah. Trying to figure where to go next. I'm kind of in my mind going organically because there's so much to kind of talk about. But is there something you guys want to bring up? Because I do have an idea, but if you guys want to bring something up that we haven't yet.
No, I love when you guys know this world so well, and that this is the times that we're in. Like, I was there for the first, of course this is another world, but for the first returning of Batman, and how different that was,
Like the Michael Keaton Batman or the Christian Bale Batman?
Say again?
The Michael Keaton Batman or the
Michael Keaton,
right.
Where it was just silly and camp and how when that started and people were divided, there was nerdy things for nerds, and then there was whatever Arnold Schwarzenegger for big, these were different things. Now there's nobody who doesn't enjoy something from the superhero world, from comic world, from all that. It's the main thing now.
They just love hating it.
For sure, even if they're haters who don't want to see any change or whatever, they still know what's up. But even for entertainment, even for story, even for it's massive, right? It's something that does pull in every aspect of just the human experience. With a lot of these people are not even human anymore.
Yeah. Who is the character you relate to the most?
Who are you asking? It's off, Mitch.
Oh, a dog.
I was just going to say, typically it would be Spider-Man, but Spider-Man in this universe is not like the Spider-Man I really love. So I would probably say, oh my God, that's hard. I would probably say the best story that I've connected with best is Captain America's story. I don't know if I personally connect to him the best, but I feel like his story, every film leading to the next, his whole arc has been the absolute best in my opinion. So that's probably the one that I like the most. But of course, Iron Man's my favorite Avenger, but I don't think I connect to him the same way. You know?
Can I give a dual answer?
Of course.
Okay, so I got seriously into the Marvel universe when I was an engineering student shortly after Iron Man came out, and you can imagine Iron Man is just like a hero to every engineering student ever. So I have a big feelings for Iron Man. But when Captain Marvel came out, the first thing I said when I came out of the theater, I'm like, besides like a little bit Jessica Jones, that's the first time I ever came out of anything superhero and was like, she is me and I am her. As I said, my mother was in the Air Force at the same time that Captain Marvel was in the Air Force, and just every story, everything that happened in that movie that was an interaction with a military type guy from a female officer perspective was either something my mom had told me had happened to her or reminiscent of something that's happened to me in my life.
Oh my God, that is amazing. That's cool. Am I the only one who has it? Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's a good one. I don't know why this just seems weird because I love Captain Marvel and I like Brie Larson, but I really kind of identify with Ant-Man because I think like having I don't know, sort of a sloppy, accidental slapstick fall into becoming a superhero. I like that.
Yeah, actually, I relate to personally, I relate to the Ant-Man story because I feel like that sloppy kind of messy
criminal,
like yeah, because I'm a known criminal. I kind of relate. I think, and I do actually think it's an underrated. It's an underrated story arc until, and I really like how they plan. What I'm seeing, what they plan to use is sort of this. Oh shucks, hey guy, I'm at your door. I can help you. Pick me, coach. Pick me, kind of thing. So I can kind of relate to how they're doing. I do think that. I guess the most beautiful story in some ways is Thor, because we met this guy when he was arrogant and long hair, and I remember the ladies at my old job were like, what time is Chris Hemsworth on the stage again? What time is this movie? We can't do anything else. Is Chris Hemsworth? Yeah, like they were really like in terms of that, but like with just sort of this godlike creature that became humbled in a lot of ways. Like his journey has been one of like his entire movie arc. There has been a humbling all the way through that. I think it's going to be interesting to see where he ends, where we see the Thor story end up at the end of this.
And Thor's such a fascinating character for Marvel itself because they've gone through so many different paths and trying to figure out how to exactly nail this character down. I think a lot of it has been Chris Hemsworth and his ability to mold the character the way he's wanted to do it. But like Marvel, like from the first Thor movie, it's just like almost totally different characters. If you look back at the first Thor film and then go like just as it continues to evolve, it almost like it doesn't really seem like the same character in a way. It's totally different.
And what I kind of find most interesting on that note with Thor is another one of those transferable powers I was talking about before. Someone else can take up that mantle.
Good. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, for me too, the Thor, as I was saying before, that arc is really the strongest arc, right? It is It is amazing. You're right. He's changed so much from the first film. It's a different person or a different god.
Yeah.
How about Thor and Hulk? Because Hulk was taken out of the last movie completely. Like, he was irrelevant, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That arc...
maybe their teamwork together is part of the reason why they win or something. I don't know. I'm just
Well, if you remember in the first Avengers... where
they fight.
Well, yeah, not only that, but in the first Avengers, the first time we meet Bruce Banner in this world, he asks Black Widow, "Are you here for the monster?" And they say, "No, we're here for you." So I'm thinking it is interesting that ultimately I wonder if it's, and even in the kind of the trailer and the preview that online, they're not saying the Incredible Hulk. They're saying Bruce Banner. So I wonder if it is Bruce Banner that is in part how they end up defeating Thanos.
Everyone's guess is that the Hulk becomes like Professor Hulk, where it's like Banner and Hulk are like the same person. That's everyone's guess. Where it's like
Hulk.
Banner's mind inside of the Hulk's body, basically.
Kind of almost like Dr. Beast.
Yeah.
Oh.
So maybe let's go with some theories of what you think is. Before we do that, we do the theories. What is the one thing? Maybe we'll go with favorite. What is the one thing that you wish that this Marvel universe did better throughout this?
Did better. Spider-Man.
I did not like the Homecoming. I thought it was too Iron Man-y. But
Yeah.
I guess
I wish it was Toby.
I like Iron Man. I liked how Iron Man it was.
I wish it was more Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The new Spider-Man reminds me a lot of the Spider-Man from the 90s when it was silly before it got into the serious storylines, and then it did get into the serious like Mary Jane and stuff. But the 90s one was so goofy at first, and this kid is so goofy that it makes me, like, it gives me the strong nostalgia.
Other than that, I feel like that's tough. The villains at the start were kind of rough, but they were just sort of figuring their way through. I think they've pretty much learned from everything that they that they didn't do well at the beginning. They've sort of built off of everything, and that's the best part of having 22 movies. But I don't know.
The villains certainly have come a long way in the Marvel Universe, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, because it was a little rough at the beginning.
What could they do different? I mean, public opinion, wishing that there was like a gay superhero and stuff like that. I mean, is that
They could still do that, though.
Yeah, but for me, like in terms of like script and character and world building and all that kind of stuff, like who would I be to see what could they do better? But my one sort of thing, like what I really enjoy from some of the Marvel films is the music, but it's old music, so it makes me laugh. That, say, for example, my 16-year-old son is really into it, but then they come out with Black Panther, and then that music was just amazing.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
So I don't know, like maybe it's just like their.
That's true. I
like
think
that.
their scores, like original scores, could be better outside of the Avengers theme.
Yeah.
Like you can't really think of one. Like there's the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, and there's the Black Panther soundtrack, but the actual scores could be better. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right, but even the soundtrack, like Guardian of the Galaxies, like that is awesome, hilarious.
Oh, yeah,
but
it's
80s
amazing.
music, right?
Okay.
But it's old, right? But it's so old, right? So
What
I don't know.
what I really like on a lot of music movies, and I agree they could use more original soundtracks, but also when they use songs like they were using No Doubt in Captain Marvel and all that. I used to discover a lot of bands through they'd hire cover bands to do remakes of those songs, and then you'd look into them and they have really good other music. And a lot of my favorite bands did a cover. Like, I really like the Dolly Rots, and I believe I discovered them because they did a cover of some song for Mean Girls. Ooh. And so I like when if they're going to use old school music that was done well, at least get like a really cool cover band so people can start discovering new music.
Mm. That's true. To kind of go forward.
How about this? An actual Hulk movie.
Ooh. Wow.
They never did that.
They are doing a Black Widow movie.
How about
they should have done a Black Widow movie before Captain Marvel, but whatever.
How about
yeah, I can see that. I agree with you on that.
How about like a larva, like Ant-Man and the Wasp have a baby? How about the next generation of bugs?
You know,
well, Ant-Man does have a daughter already, so.
And then Spider-Man eats it.
Yeah. No. I do wish that we did see another Doctor Strange movie, because I really.
They are making one.
What's that?
They are making one.
I know, but
Strange is totally coming back.
Yeah, but I know he's coming back. I would have loved to see one more, because I just think he's such a. I think he's such a
one you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would have just.
Well, he's not in this movie, so it's like.
Well, yeah, we got to talk about who is in the IMDb and who is not. Well, actually, thanks for
let's go into that,
because I think that's a very interesting thing. Because Benedict Cumberbatch is not on the IMDb. Let me just pull this up here.
Dave Bautista's on there. Tessa Thompson's on there. Tom Holland is on there. Jon Favreau, who plays Happy, is on there.
Okay,
Rocky Barnes, Sebastian Stan's on there.
Yes, Tilda Swinton is on here. If you remember, she's in the original.
Oh, by the way, Catherine Langford from 13 Reasons Why is playing a new character.
Yes. Mantis is in there. Thanos is in there. Paul Rudd, Rocket, Drax. Brie Larson. There's a couple of there's some new people in. Yeah, so Elizabeth Olsen, Sebastian Stan, Michelle Pfeiffer, Catherine Langford, Winston Duke, playing M'Baku from Black Panther, the Ancient One. Danny Guerrera is in there.
Chadwick Boseman's on there.
Yes, he is. Don Cheadle.
Well, Don Cheadle's in the movie.
Yeah. I'm just going through the name. Yes, I know. There was a new superhero that actually is also being introduced here, and I'm sorry, that was on here, and is not on there anymore.
Are you talking about Catherine Langford?
No, it was a guy.
Oh.
I was like, oh, why is he on here? But he's not on here now. But do we...
Come on, Kevin, screenshots.
Yes, I should have screenshotted this. Because
Stan Lee's in there.
Oh, that'll be great. That'll be really great. Because I think
pretty he is.
I know that he that will be the last.
Stanley, yeah.
That will be the last one.
Cameo.
The last cameo.
And apparently that was his favorite part of his career, was the cameos.
Oh, they did so many.
The last one's in Endgame. It's so appropriate.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. Stan Lee's the real Thanos.
Yes. The real. Because here, let's talk about who's not on here. Because Benedict Cumberbatch is not on here. We do not have. Yeah, Tom Holland is. I don't see him on the list I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, he is.
He is there? Okay.
He's right under Josh.
Oh, there he is. Right there. Okay. There's Michael Douglas is not on this.
No.
Which there's an underrated story. Shuri is on there.
Samuel.
Yes, Samuel L. Jackson's not on here. Clark Clark Gregg is not on here. And How I Met Your Mother girl is not on here. I should. I'm trying to. Sorry. What's that? Sorry.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, my brain is. Apologies, folks, but yeah, she's not on here as well. So who are we expecting? Like, do we expect any surprises?
From who?
Like, do we think that there's going to be some people in here that even though they're not in IMDb, that we're going to see?
Oh, we might see Doctor Strange.
I think we have to see Doctor Strange. I think that makes a heck of a lot
I
of sense.
still think Doctor Strange could be in the movie without Cumberbatch being in the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can,
they could do that with all of them though too.
yeah,
Exactly. I don't necessarily think that they could still be doing something without being seen.
yeah. Also, who's not in there is Paul Bettany and Zoe Saldana are also
Chris
not.
Pratt's not on there.
And Chris Pratt is also not on there.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He's not in the actual movie. He's dead.
Yeah, oh, he's dead.
No, he got snapped. He didn't die.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, Loki's not on there, which is interesting.
It's also interesting. Yeah. So it's really fascinating who I think that what's going to happen with all of those people that are not in the movie or not on the IMDb. Are we actually going to see them? That I think is also going to be fascinating as well, because there's so many other ways that you can go, I guess, with that.
What about the Into the Spider-Verse kid's voice? What if they threw that in there?
Oh, I think that that's part of the next generation of Marvel. I don't see that being in the Endgame.
I think that's a totally different universe.
And I think it's totally. By the way, you need to go.
It's like we're not going to see any X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see X-Men.
Well, yeah, but not the same.
Not in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe in the end credits, Kev.
Maybe.
You know what? One thing that I would probably freak out if happened if they had Daredevil show up in this movie.
Oh my god! Or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage. They can keep Iron Fist away, though.
Yeah, Iron Fist can go. Yeah, you stay away. Although if you bring the Daughters of the Dragon in, I think everybody would be happy about that. But the Iron Fist, leave that out. Yeah. Okay. So let's go with let's do it. Let's talk about what we think. If you were the writer or you're the person behind this, who lives, who dies, who beats Thanos, and what is the transition?
Oh god, that's a really long and heavy question, man.
Okay, well I'll start. I think Iron Man dies.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Captain America.
Agreed, 100%.
I think Captain America dies.
That's a
No.
Yeah.
Really?
I 100% America dies.
Really?
I think,
this
is my theory that Captain America, he rather dies straight up or he gets his dance and goes back in time.
Yes, I could see you,
Yeah, or he stays
to live out a normal life. I could see that happening.
Yeah, he stays back in time, per se.
Yeah.
We see him, his arc is he's the little skinny kid that we meet.
Iron Man, I don't know.
That's 100% my head canon no matter what happens.
Iron Man, I could see a Dark Knight Rises retirement.
Maybe.
Everyone thinks he dies, but he doesn't.
But yeah.
Ooh.
I think Thor is the one that lays down the hammer.
I think
he's the one and I think that the
I
leader.
think there's so many passing of mantles.
But Thor needs a redemption.
I think Thor is the one to ultimately give the last blow.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think he survived.
Yeah, but I really want Captain Marvel to somehow save the day.
I think that Captain Marvel is the leader of the next generation. I think she is the new Captain America.
Yeah, she's getting his mantle, that's for sure.
Yeah. Although the comics do suggest that it's Bucky.
It's interesting if Bucky will get it.
Yeah, the comics suggest it's Bucky, but I do believe that they're going to go with Captain Marvel. That's my theory.
I do too.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it'll be Black Panther and Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain. Yeah.
Oh, it is time. It is time for Black Panther and Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Anything else we need to touch on here?
I agree with Mitch, though, that I could see Thor surviving. but I could also see Thor surviving and passing his mantle on at the same time.
Yes.
Like, he could pass his mantle. That whole mantle scene that we saw in the trailer with Thor and Captain Marvel is he passes the mantle to Captain Marvel.
No, I mean, like, Thor, there's a whole thing with Thor's hammer, Thor's, like, there is ways to make a new Thor with Thor still being around.
I don't know who it would be, though.
I have no idea who it would be.
I think it would be Captain Marvel.
No, they
that's
can't
too
just
much.
give everything to Captain Marvel. Like, as much as I love her, they gotta spread it around.
No. Like,
She's busy.
Thor, like, I want Thor to survive so he can be in Guardians 3.
Oh, that'd be cool. I like that, Mitch.
yeah. Yes, I just want to hear him say, "Hello, Rabbit," again. I love that he calls her Rabbit. It's not a rabbit. I'm like, this is not a rabbit. Yeah. Anything else?
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting, Kevin, to see what your take is after you see it.
Yes,
after next week, the world will change.
Yes, we will do a full review of what we have seen, and it'll be spoiler filled. So if you guys are out there listening to this, and then you watch the review, don't say I didn't warn you, because we're.
Oh, last thing, by the way, Iron Man at the beginning of Infinity War, doesn't he bring up something about a kid?
Yes, I think that Pepper is pregnant.
Do you think he's gonna have a kid?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But die.
All right.
Someone's got to be in control of the superhero money.
Yeah, Pepper is the most responsible out of all
And
of it.
Spider-Man will be jealous.
As someone who's moved into an arts administration job more than accounting, the people in charge of the money are very important.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So maybe this is the way we'll close this off. What are your top for the Marvel Universe? If you have what you've seen, what you haven't. What are your top 5?
Top 5 films?
Yes.
Ugh.
I don't want to miss one. Winter Soldier. Avengers, the first one. Where is Guardians, probably. Iron Man and and it's between Civil War and Infinity War for the 5th spot.
I agree on every single point, but I gotta throw Captain Marvel up there on my last slot.
That's fair enough. Those are my 5.
I love Guardians 2, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Thor. What was that one? Thor Ragnarok? Yeah, that's 4. I don't know what my 5th one is. You go.
My 5 is Infinity War, Black Panther, Ragnarok, the first Avengers, and I flip between Civil War and Captain Marvel.
I also have like Civil. It's paining me to not put Civil War on my list.
Yeah, because Civil War was such a. It was really a pivotal. Like they were all pivotal, but But Civil War was such a pivotal point because it was it was the kind of the turning arc of the story that led us to this. And I'm also kind of a little, and I also have to admit I'm a little, because I really did enjoy the Ant-Man movies, and I
also like Doctor Strange is Doctor Strange and Vision are some of my 2 favorite characters, but like I didn't actually like the Doctor Strange movie. I just like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I enjoyed both. Yeah.
You know what? Put Civil War at 5, Infinity War at 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Infinity War should have won Best Picture last year, but that was me. Anyway, Infinity War and Black Panther were probably the 2 best movies I saw last year. But anyway, okay, let's kind of talk. You people have stuff going on, so tell us about the stuff that you guys are up to.
Dead silence.
Self-promoting is so hard, Kevin.
I know. As a person that struggles
You guys
with...
can go first. I do this all the time.
Mitch is the best at self-promotion. Go ahead, Mitch.
What happened?
Mitch, did we
Oh,
lose?
you want me to go first?
Yeah, show us how it's done.
Okay. You can check me out on YouTube at The Bottom Line View. I talk about the NFL. And you can check me out on Twitter at Mitch Milani, Milani, for my tweets about sports and movies and music.
Yes, and the NFL draft is coming up on
Thursday. I'm going live for that, so
yeah,
it'll be a lot of fun.
That'll be a lot of fun. Selena, what you've got are you working on some stuff?
I am working on stuff. I'm not have like official paid. Well, maybe one thing. But so I'm working on developing a TV series about immigration in the U.S. under the Trump era. I am returned to my feature script, which is a comedy set in Seattle 1980 about counterfeit jeans. And I am launching my web series called The Fakers, which is on my Facebook channel, VETV. And The Fakers is about two sort of mismatched friends, a young guy and a mature woman, who go to an event where they're told you can make a lot of money writing a book. So they want to write a book about writing a book, but they don't know how to write a book and they've never written a book.
Oh.
The Fakers.
Classic. Jen, when is the Fringe Festival coming on?
Fringe Festival is 10 days in September. It starts on the 6th, I believe. I should know this better. But the 10 days, early September. It is a great, great time. We're doing over 100 plays this year. And 100% of ticket sales go directly to the artist. A lot of people get their first starts in the arts community through the Fringe Festival. So it's a really great way to support the community. And it's not just actors who get their start through the Fringe Festival. A lot of arts administrators, techs, I keep telling this guy's story, but one of my buddies just got a permanent position with Arts Club, and he's coming back he's taking vacation time to come back and do the Fringe Fest for free, because that's how he got all his work experience after school. Come support the Fringe in September.
Cool.
Yes. Hey, are they still taking play submissions, or do you have the 100 plays?
So the lottery party for the main stage locations happens in January. So you would have had to apply before then to do it, but there's still some slots for bring your own venues. Those are starting to fill up though, but I do believe there's still a few spots available for bring your own venues.
Cool.
All right. And for me, we got a few things going on. We're going to talk about mental health in the election, because either when one wins or one loses, there's expectations around that, and we'll talk a little bit about that with Alicia Perot. I'll talk about that. We might be doing a recap on the Alberta election, kind of a final debrief on that. We do have our hockey podcast that we're doing every Saturday. We will be bringing in draft experts like Cam Robinson and more, kind of talking about that. And we've got some other stuff that we are working on as well. Of course, follow me, KVOLE. You might also be listening to this on Powercast 979 Internet Radio, Wednesdays at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. Subscribe on all podcasts. And then we will be doing a full review of the Endgame. What happened? Did we like it? Etc., etc. Thanks, guys, for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kev.
We'll talk to everyone very soon. Bye now.
Bye.